Mr. Prakash, I would like to address my first question to you, and that is regarding your emerging cities proposal that will draw resources from the agency's already strapped budget for very limited results, helping 200 inner city businesses. This is in comparison to a program like the Women's Business Center, where, for example, the Canisius College Women's Business Center in Buffalo, New York, whose director is testifying here today, assists on average 2,000 women per year, including many inner city women. Yet, as you know, this is with a grant that is approximately half of what you are spending on your entire new initiative. Given the cost of this new program and the limited deliverables, how can this be a good use of this agency's funds?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chairwoman. The Emerging 200 program is sufficiently focused on an area of coverage that we currently just do not have coverage in. Currently, our best estimate is about less than 10% of any of our resource partner
I'm sorry, what you just said? That they don't have coverage? The what?
I'm saying that less than 10% of our nationwide coverage with our resource partners is in the inner cities in the United States.
I would like for Mr. Wilson and Ms. Anderson to comment on that.
Sure.
Madam Chair, I don't have a breakdown, but I will try to get that for you. Obviously, whether it's St. Louis or Philadelphia or New York or Atlanta or wherever, we have SBDCs right downtown, and they're serving the inner city community. Obviously, as you know, with 25 million small business people across the country, if you took all of these, we're only reaching a part of them.
But does that 10% sounds right to you?
10% might very well be a reasonable number. I'm thinking of places like Georgia and Pennsylvania and New York. I would think in New York probably we're better than that.
Mr. Prakash, let me go to, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson, I'm sorry.
Thank you for the question. The program has, the Women's Business Center program specifically has about 100 federally funded programs right now in the whole country. So, there are limited, ways that we can focus specifically on inner cities. We had a conversation at the break that that many of these areas that are being targeted are urban that don't have a focus or don't even have a focus of Women's Business Center or maybe an SBDC program.
But do you really think that only 10% of your centers are serving 10% of women in urban areas?
Our numbers aren't tracked that way. The way we track it is socioeconomically disadvantaged. That's how we're required to track it. Okay. And the Women's Business Centers see between 46 and 52% on an annual basis. Mm-hmm. So, whether those women come from the inner city or not is not a focus. It's tracked a different way. So I can't answer the question.
When we look at our minority numbers of over 30%, Madam Chair, I would correct myself. Probably.
I'm sorry?
When we look at SBDC overall counseling clients and training counts, which are over 30% minority, I would probably raise my estimate of coverage.
Mm-hmm. At a time when the budget is being cut, and at a time when the entire budget for SBA has been cut, and the money for Women Business Center and Small Business Development Centers, you have to ask yourself if the type of money that you're taking from this program is worth taken to finance 200 businesses. The return that you're going to get compared to the work and the goals that are achieved through the network of small business development centers across the nation and women business centers.
May I comment?
I know the answer, but I want to tell you that $250,000 out of the money of the corp to fund.
That money's not coming from the Corps, Madam Chairwoman.
It's coming from the agency's budget.
It's a request.
It's coming from the cuts that have been from the agency whose budget has been cut for almost 50% in the last 6 years. So when you talk about consolidating programs, when you talk about making government smaller, here you come and take money and create a new program. Let's talk about the language on the energy bill that you may reference to, and the language on the HR 4253 for the VET program. I'm going to read the language to you. Subject to amounts approved in advance in Appropriations Acts. That's the language for HR 4253. On the energy bill, the language reads, specifically in advance, and the energy bill goes further and says it takes the extraordinary step to include separate. So my question to you today is, what does advance mean?
Madam Chairwoman, the authorizing bill may very well say advance. It's the appropriations language that has said the $97,120,000 for grants. It did not specify Section 21A grants. And we are being told also by your colleague, Ms. Clark, we want to implement this bill. We want to support energy and support veterans, which is core to our mission. And we intend to do it, and we've reached a very nice accommodation to be able to support that as a pilot. And none of the money is going away from the SBDC program. It's simply supporting energy and veterans within the SBDC program.
My question is, why don't you then use the $250,000 to do that?
This is a fiscal year 08 implementation. We don't have those $250,000 to do that.
Well, my question is, the statute reads, subject to amounts approved in advance in Appropriations Act.
What does the appropriations bill say there's money for veterans?
Are you going to request appropriation separate for the VETS program?
We're going to be using $1 million from the $97 million that was appropriated for grants.
Why are you doing that? That is
our only grant pool that's been appropriated.
Separate. It doesn't say that you are going to take money from that. It says separate from that amount of money, from that program.
There is no other grant pool to take from.
Yeah, but you know, we here passed the law, and you implement it. So it doesn't say that you are going to fund the VET grant program through the corp money.
I think I'm confused. We're here to implement laws. We look forward to implementing these laws. We support them.
Well,
but I'm not sure how you expect us to fund them if we don't fund them from a grant pool.
Well, the statute is very clear. It says it's separate. It says in advance in Appropriations Act. And what I'm saying to you today is that you have to use a separate appropriation and don't come to us with something different, because then we're going to hold a hearing and I'm going to bring the administrator to explain to us why you're doing what you're not supposed to do. That is not what the statute said. Mr. Wilson, you testified that the SBA is defying congressional intent in its interpretation of how the grant programs are to be funded. So, based on the fact that the statute is clear, what do you intend to do? Are you going to file a lawsuit because they are in violation of the statute?
Madam Chair, the association probably does not have standing to file that suit. You know, and when you're trying to work with a partner, litigation is not an avenue that you would readily jump into. We've talked with a number of people, as you know. Michael and Tim and others have been so helpful to us, and Mr. Serrano's staff and Chairman Kerry's staff and others. we are not experts in writing appropriation statutes or authorizing statutes. We had thought it was clear, working with your staff and Senator Kerry's staff and Ms. Snow's staff, we had thought it was clear, but we've had others, some of Senator Durbin's staff and legal counsel at SBA.
But the parliamentarian of the House made it clear to us that the language that was submitted was in violation of House rule. If it's in violation of House rule, we cannot include such a language.
Right. And